Kahir was startled by the sound of the flute. It turned out the music he had heard had been played by Meredith. The music was beautiful and stirred the soul, and was light and uplifting at the same time. It seemed to be spiraling above his head, crisp and gentle, as if it was recounting a girl's thoughts. Despite its sweetness, the music was laced with bitterness. The melody seemed to be strangely hypnotic, and Kahir couldn't tear himself away from it. He was intoxicated. It was definitely the most wonderful sound he had ever heard, and he just couldn't stop listening to it. When he finally regained his senses, the bright moon had shifted to the west, and he knew it was almost dawn. Kahir shook his head vigorously. He had been so immersed in the sound of the flute, he had almost lost consciousness. He looked around and saw Meredith sitting on a stone with her legs crossed and her eyes closed. From the depths of the mountain range, dreadful roars could occasionally be heard, as if there were countless ferocious beasts prowling around. "Has she fallen asleep?" he wondered as he looked at her. He thought about the fact that Father Nathan probably didn't know where he was. And even if he did come to rescue him, he wouldn't be able to deal with this powerful woman. "I should run away now," he thought, feeling decisive. After all, his life was precious, so he had to do all he could to escape. He began to tiptoe down the mountain in the moonlight. The mountain was incredibly tall and was shaped like a huge dragon raising its head. If Kahir hadn't had the golden aura at that moment, he doubted he would be able to go down the mountain. When he finally got to the bottom, he was exhausted. The sea of trees was filled with the occasional roars of beasts, frightening him. He was still within the White Mountain, and this was no ordinary place. He knew he was likely to encounter demon beasts at any time. Although he had escaped the mountain, he didn't dare relax even for a second. It was rumored that the deeper a person went into the White Mountain, the more demon beasts they would encounter, and the stronger the beasts would be. It was said that even top martial arts experts wouldn't dare go near these mountain peaks. "But I can't go to Dandelion City," he thought, knowing Meredith would definitely look for him there as soon as she found out he had escaped. With her ability of being able to navigate through the sky, catching him would be a piece of cake. Kahir knew he didn't have much time to think, and he wasn't willing to sit still and wait to get caught again. Only in danger can there be a chance for survival, he thought. He had to take the risk. He was going to deal with the current challenge by going into the White Mountain. If the worst were to happen, he would turn back again. Back in Dandelion City, within the courtyard of the Rosark residence, the lights were brightly lit and there was a tense atmosphere. In the main hall, Cohen was looking very anxious. "I've searched everywhere, but there's no trace of Kahir at all," he said. "Some people said they saw someone flying over our house. Knowing that, as well as the fact that Kahir has disappeared, is making me worry." He had started to worry about all kinds of possible situations. "To travel through the air, someone has to be at least at the pulse spirit stage," Zane replied. "No one in the whole of Dandelion City is at that level." Despite his attempt to reassure Cohen, Zane was equally concerned. If Kahir's disappearance was related to a master at the level of the pulse spirit, he knew it was going to be very serious. "As well as the masters of the pulse spirit stage, some special experts of the pulsating stage also have that ability," Cohen explained. "But right now we don't know the whereabouts of Kahir, nor the person who wants to deal with our family." "The news that Kahir has recovered should have spread long ago," Zane said. "The potential that he displayed today has made some forces feel restless. And this matter will affect the gathering of the 5 Great Lords in 3 months' time, so they have been forced to act. Therefore, we must investigate this thoroughly. Once we find out who's responsible for this, no matter who it is, I'll deal with them appropriately." Zane was obviously angry and determined to get to the bottom of the matter. Then, looking like he had just thought of something, he said to Cohen, "Remember to inform Kelvin. He must be notified about this right away." "Yes, I'll arrange everything," Cohen replied. "And I'll do all I can to find Kahir as soon as possible." With that, he nodded and then quickly left. The mountains were connected by a sea of trees. Some of the older trees were enormous, covering the sky and blocking out the sun. There were vines that had been growing for many years wrapped around these trees, making their trunks thicker and stronger. Kahir had been sprinting with all his might through this vast forest, and he didn't dare stop. He wanted to get as far away from the mysterious woman as possible. From the depths of the mountain range, the roars of the beasts were relentless. They grew louder by the minute, as if all the ferocious beasts in the mountain range were fighting. The roars terrified Kahir. If he met a strong demon beast, he didn't even want to imagine what the consequences would be. He didn't know how long he had been running, but it was now daylight. The roars that came from the depths of the White Mountain strangely quieted down as soon as dawn broke. Kahir was exhausted and thought about taking a moment to rest. Suddenly, the golden aura in his body surged, as though it was going to explode out of him. It rolled endlessly in his meridians, and he could taste something sweet in his mouth. As he spat it out, he realized it was blood. His whole body felt extremely weak, and he staggered back a few steps, about to fall to the ground, when he heard a voice. "After running all night, you can't run anymore, right?" it said. Then a figure appeared beside Kahir like a ghost. With a few movements of her delicate hands, several streams of extremely gentle and profound energy landed on several acupoints of his body. As the gentle energy fell into his acupoints, it seemed to come alive and rushed into Kahir's meridians, slowly suppressing the surging golden aura that was about to explode. At the same time, he fell onto his back, and Meredith appeared in front of him. "You're quite brave to try to run away from me," she said. "But you think too highly of yourself. In this world, there aren't many people who can escape from me, let alone a fool like you who only has the golden aura, but no martial arts level." With pleasure in her eyes, she glanced at Kahir as he lay on the ground. This was the first time she had looked at him with such a stern expression. "You're fine now," she said softly. "Those were the effects from eating my poison pill. You can continue to run if you like, and see what the consequences will be." She then started to move away and head for the deep mountain range. As she drifted into the distance, her cold voice continued. "It seems something is wrong in the White Mountain. I'm going to go and take a look. You'd better stay close to me. Otherwise, if you were to meet any demon beasts, your frail little life might just be taken away." "So it was a poison pill you gave me last night," Kahir said. "What a wicked woman you are. But I still need your help. Please wait for me." He knew that after taking the poison pill, he wouldn't be able to escape, and his life would always be under her control. This was unbearable for Kahir, and he grumbled to himself. When he saw Meredith leaving, he had no choice but to get up and follow her. Meredith walked slowly through the quiet mountain range. Kahir followed behind, glaring at her with seething rage. He hated her for what she had done, but he knew that with his current strength, even with the mysterious move he had used before, he would be no match for her. "Father Nathan, I will deal with you when I get back," he thought. Kahir had to be wary of his surroundings. If a demon beast suddenly appeared, he would be in trouble. He naturally blamed all of this on Father Nathan. He didn't know what he had done to offend this woman, but he knew it must have been very serious for her to behave like this. Suddenly, a streak of light shot down like lightning from atop a towering tree straight toward Kahir. He was shocked, but he quickly formed one of his hands into a fist, and the wave punch instantly shot out, releasing a staggering burst of energy and emitting a low, muffled sound. 13 layers of energy waves overlapped like shockwaves, violently landing on the lightning-like glow. The beam of light paused for a moment before it fell to the ground. To his surprise, a white snake was revealed, which was about 5 feet long. It landed on the ground, twitching, unable to continue crawling. The sound of wind swooshing through the air could be heard again. 5 rays of lightning shot down from above Cahir and landed behind him. As if a blade of light had slashed through the air, the space distorted and fluctuated. 5 streaks of lightning turned into 10 pieces, all falling around Cahir. Looking at the white snake on the ground, Cahir felt it was familiar. "It's a white-eyed demon snake," he thought. The Rosark family had always been well informed about the various demon beasts, especially those that were often seen around the White Mountain. Usually, these white-eyed demon snakes were only in the acquired stage and wouldn't develop much, as they were a lower-level demon beast. They weren't poisonous, but they could move very fast. Once the snake bit someone, it would release a type of electric light that could destroy the victim's golden aura and weaken their body. Cahir thought about what had just happened. Although the white-eyed demon snake had been taken down, his fear still lingered. This was the first time he had faced a demon beast head-on. "Your reaction wasn't bad," Meredith said. "Even without much martial arts experience, you were able to deal with a white-eyed demon snake. Although you did look absolutely terrified." Then she turned around and continued walking. Cahir didn't know what to say. He had indeed been quite nervous when he had first encountered the snake, and it wasn't something he ever wanted to repeat. Looking at the white-eyed demon snake on the ground that had been rendered immobile by his wave punch, Cahir hardened his gaze and punched it again. After confirming it was definitely dead, he followed Meredith and became even more vigilant. It was going to be impossible to completely avoid the demon beasts within the White Mountain, and in just one afternoon, Cahir encountered several attacks from different beasts. What baffled him the most was that the demon beasts never made a move against Meredith. It seemed they only had eyes for him. Luckily, they only encountered beasts of the acquired stage. Although they looked terrifying, Cahir just about managed to deal with them. After several encounters, his reactions to their attacks and his own strikes had greatly improved, to the point where Meredith occasionally stopped to watch him. Within the dense forest, Cahir shouted, "Palm wave power!" and 3 handprints condensed one after another. With one breath, the golden aura surged through the palms of his hand, and the technique was complete. The aura of his body grew enormously, like a sleeping beast awakening. The surrounding space seemed to boil, fluctuating unceasingly, and a handprint immediately landed on a 3-meter-long demon beast that was covered in scaled armor. Wherever the palm passed by, strong winds visibly spread out and landed on the back of the scaled armored beast. An explosion suddenly thundered out, and multiple waves of strong winds repeatedly struck at it. It roared out in pain and quickly retreated as it glared at Cahir with a pair of bloody eyes. Suddenly, several more roars rang out from the depths of the mountain range, as if there were more vicious birds and fierce beasts waiting to attack. The scaled armored beast roared and fiercely glared at Cahir with a bloodthirsty gaze before quickly entering a large bottomless rock cave. As he watched the fleeing beast, Cahir was exhausted. That was a very powerful scaled armored beast, as expected of one that has reached the supreme stage, he thought. His palms were numb, and he was trembling. He had consumed a huge amount of energy when he had harnessed the palm wave power. As a supreme skill, the palm wave power was now his strongest move. Apart from the mysterious move he had used against Vesemir, Mike, and Ezekiel. But it still hadn't been enough to visibly wound the scaled armored beast, who was already on the edge of the supreme stage. Not only had it escaped unscathed, but the force of the techniques had left Cahir weakened and shaking uncontrollably. He felt exasperated. If he had perfected the palm wave power and increased its intensity a bit, perhaps he would have been able to seriously injure the scaled armored beast. Meredith had been watching it all with no intention of intervening, and she hadn't given the scaled armored beast a second glance when she had seen it run away. Instead, she seemed to have become more curious about Kahir. To start, she hadn't paid him much attention, but now she seemed very interested in him. Someone who only has the golden aura but no martial arts level was actually able to learn an inborn martial arts skill? She said. You're quite a freak. Where are we going? Kahir asked, still feeling great anger toward her because he was being forced to follow her. Every time he had met a demon beast, she hadn't done anything to help him. A few hours ago, a demon beast had scratched his leg, leaving several deep scratches. Blood had flowed profusely from his wounds, but she hadn't paid any attention to him. He was trying hard to hold back his anger and resentment. After all, it was his own fault that he was weaker than her. However, along the way, Kahir had realized that dealing with the demon beasts had hugely helped to improve his skills. Without a doubt, this kind of training was proving to be very beneficial. It seems to be getting more crowded here with so many different beasts, he said. They must be looking for something. Meredith continued to ignore his words as she looked into the depths of the mountain range. She quietly listened to the roars that were continuously echoing in the distance. Then she turned around and said, "Wait for me here. I'll go ahead and take a look."